The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Bracken Farms, Stonewall Stud, IRT, it's your horse and our passion, Australasian-wide Garrard's Horse and Hound, Rikiro Racing Stables, Lincoln Farms, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge Raceway, Ashburton Trotting Club, Addington Raceway and Harness Racing New Zealand. Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. They support us and your industry, so why wouldn't you support them? Michael Guerin's joined us again off the back of what has become the key lead-up race to the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. Of course it is the Lamb and Haywood Canterbury Classic, Michael, and it was a classic contest. Evening to you.
Yeah, hi GregO, it was. It was part of the cup puzzle. There's another part at Alexandra Park this Friday. But another part of the cup puzzle is what I'm doing right now, and that's sitting at home in Auckland, which is also something a lot of Aucklanders are going to be doing, Greg, for the next 2 to 4 weeks. And that's become a big part of the cup puzzle. Do the North Island trainers, people like Ray Green, who had discussed going down to a flying stakes, the likelihood is, Greg, they won't be able to get south. So do they send their horse to somebody else? How's that going to affect preparations? How's it going to affect the New Zealand Cup if we don't have this vaccine passport up and running, Greg, by the 9th of November, or in fact weeks before confirmation it can be running? How many people can even get there from Auckland to other parts of the country? So many moving parts to this New Zealand Cup, Greg. The racing on the track we know is going to be great. So many other things, we're still waiting to find out what they're going to be like.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Michael. Bit more news about that as the program progresses. Let's go back to Addington Raceway, though, from last Friday night, the 51st running of the Lamb and Haywood Canterbury Classic. The all-important standing start, Self Assured jumped sideways there. Henry Hubert got it wrong, Michael. The others all got away nicely, including South Coast Arden, the eventual winner, who's in second last position there behind Kango. And Pembroke Playboy, Michael, he is so very good from a stand. He was in front, and at this point of the race, they've just gone past the mile mark. There finally were some moves in a lead-up race to the Cup.
There was, and they were moves from horses who have the ability and the stamina to move. And one of those we'll see is South Coast Arden. He settled last in this race. And when you're last in one of your first major open class races, it's a big, big deal to come sit parked and win. Big statement performance from South Coast Arden. Pembroke Playboy, Nathan Williamson, almost a victim of his standing start manners. He had to lead once he got there. I think he's going to be better driven with a sit in the Cup. And Self Assured, who Mark Purden told everybody who would listen was going to be a run short. Very, very good. They were the big three, but South Coast Arden, Greg, shortens in the market. And why wouldn't he? Because this was a big win from the big horse.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, prior to him trialling down here, he was $6.50. We'll have a look at that market shortly into $3.20. But at this point of the race, he gets to the outside of Pembroke Playboy, and he seems a far more tractable horse. He relaxed once he got there. His sectionals were nothing short of outstanding. That's Classy Brigade in the trail. Self Assured, 3 back on the outside. He does make up some nice ground. Behind him, Vintage Cheddar. And back on the inside, in last position at this stage, Henry Hubert. Now, he has missed away a couple of times now. Gee, his effort to get as close as he did was again outstanding, but at this level you cannot afford to be giving them a start. 3:14.9 the overall time. And the big bloke in the mangos colours, the red with the white stars, is simply too good in the end for a brave Pembroke Playboy and the defending Lamb and Haywood Canterbury Classic champion in Self Assured, and ultimately the Cup champion. But let's hear from those involved in this race and get their thoughts post-race. Natalie, in terms of a Cup campaign, that's about a perfect first up run.
Oh, it was definitely. Like, I really only sort of got involved that last sort of 1100. So he's just sort of basically sprinted 1100. It was beautiful and kind, though. I loved the way that he just settled, and he was so good. He paced off the mark, which was good. So, yeah, no, Brent was pretty confident that he's a lot better horse this time in, and I think he's right.
All right, you've only had a couple of steers, 3 steers maybe on race day. What's the difference between South Coast Arden, say, Jules time, to now, he looks a lot stronger.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You've just got to look at him. Like last time when he was a big baby, and he's still a bit fragile, but he's filled into his frame, and he's just truly a beautiful big horse now. I think mentally he's grown up, physically he's grown up, and he's just stronger.
Natalie, the decision to put him on the unruly gives you options eventually, hopefully to take him off that. But at the moment, is it about keeping his confidence up from a stand?
Oh, most definitely, Greg. I just at the trials last week at Rangiora, he was really panicked when they come in around him, and I don't think he's a horse that will cop that too well. So I spoke to Brent and we decided to put him unruly just to keep him calm like that. I'd prefer to lose that little bit of field position because he's tough enough to make it up than miss it completely at the start.
Natalie, can he win an IRT New Zealand Cup?
Yes, he can.
Well, he's progressing nicely.
He's coming on good, Greg. I'm right with him. His manners are great, and he'd only had that quiet run, obviously in the Hannon, and he never really got a look at them. So tonight was a step up, and I was real proud of him. He went great, and he's heading the right way.
All right, where are you going next?
He'll go to Ashburton next. I think 3 weeks between runs, but he might have a trial in the meantime, and then then we'll work out whether we need Kaikoura or the Cup trial or what we do. But I think every run he should just keep improving a little bit, I hope, and you never know, the run comes our way, we might pick one up.
Mark, he was excellent.
He was. He stepped good. He was a little bit fractious, but he got away pretty cleanly, and he won a great race after that.
All right. Yeah, he did some work as well, so he'll come on a long way with that. Is the plan to go to Geraldine?
At this stage, Greg, I think that's the best plan. He needs a couple more runs under his belt, and so I'd probably prefer that than maybe look at Kaikoura that's closer to Cup Day.
John, has Matters got him in the right spot again?
Yeah, it always seems to so far, Greg, and yeah, I'll still rap with him, like some young bucks and good horses beat him home, so he still tried right at the line.
All right, where to next with him?
Come the 15th, they put a new race on. I know he'll be off a wee bit of a mark, I think back mark of 20 or 30, but we'll crack into that and then sort of work it out whether Kaikoura or Ashburn after that.
Craig, he's gone great again.
Yeah, we're really happy with that. We hit the line nice and it was another good run.
All right, the plan, I understand, is to go and create a bit of history back down your way.
Yeah, Tuapega Cup, hopefully third year in a row. He's been good enough to do it twice, and the way he's going, he could definitely win that.
Craig, going forward to the New Zealand Cup, he is the type of horse that if he gets in on the markers, gets the right sort of run, he'll follow speed all day.
Yeah, he seems to follow speed well, and today showed he run on, so he begins good, so a good draw. He'd follow them all.
How do you think he went?
Yeah, it was a pass mark, Greg. He got the stand well and got right around at the right time, and he wasn't too far from them at the finish, and he's just stepping into the big grade, so he's going to be a lovely horse.
Well, he really botched that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's him or my heavy hands, Greg, but whatever we're doing, it's not working. But yeah, that was the worst he's been. He was right on the back foot when the tape went and didn't even want to walk up to the tape. So he's on the unruly now, which is going to be tricky, but we've got some work to do. What
about after that, Tim? Because he actually's gone terrific, hasn't he?
Yeah, actually really happy with the way he travelled through the run, Greg. Once he did find his hobble, but like you say, you can't be giving these horses a head start anywhere along the line. But he's feeling good and he's gone a good race afterwards, but you've got a lot of work to do at the start.
So great to get that insight from the participants around the Lam and Haywood Canterbury Classic. Let's have a look at the IRT New Zealand Cup market. It looks like this now, Michael. Self Assured still the favourite, $2.90, but South Coast Arden into $3.20. We then have Copy That, a wee move, 7s into 6s. Pembroke Playboy at around $7, and Amazing Dream. It seems to be less likely as the days roll on that we will see her at the New Zealand Cup.
Yeah, it sounds very unlikely, Greg. Of course, she goes to the Victoria Cup at Bendigo this week. If she wins by a cricket pitch, I would bring her, but she's got to win first before you start making those type of decisions. I think Self Assured's the interesting one. The money's come for South Coast Arden, and he can't get too much shorter unless he wins at Addington October 15th and maybe the Kaikoura Cup, if in fact that moves to Addington. So he's going to need to keep winning to keep shortening because he's awfully short now. Self Assured got as short as $1.70-ish, $1.80 last year, Greg. So I think if he consistently steps away, he's the top chance in the Cup, and therefore once that Purdon machine starts rolling now, that Purdon colour machine, I can see him edging towards a 220, 240. The big ones Copy That. He's got a race he should or could win, Greg, if he behaves himself at Alexandra Park on Saturday night. And if people sort of forgotten about him, very quickly they won't. if he wins on Friday night, he'll be into 450 or something like that, Greg. I just don't see too many serious punters, the guys who move the market, or girls, wanting to back anything outside the top three. There's always going to be love for Pembroke Playboy. I thought Robbins Playboy was really good last week. There's always going to be people who want to back those horses, but I don't see the big hard money which moves the books coming for anything else outside the top three, Greg, unless it puts its hoof up and puts it pretty darn high.
Another guy who had a great night at Addington last Friday night was Brent White. He's a strike rate trainer. He trained 2 winners last Friday night, Maybelline being one, and a potential cup contender in Cranbourne. So I caught up with him to get his reaction to both wins. Congratulations, Whitey, a double on a premier meeting. They're hard to come by.
Yeah, no, pretty wrapped, Greg. I thought the wee filly would go nice in the second race, and she'd been racing real good and probably was flying under the radar a wee, but I did expect Johnny's ones to be, probably might have the wood on it from the draw, but we thought we'd chance their arm tonight and push forward like they all do and see what happens.
All right, what about Maybelline? What's your plan with her? What have you got anything long term?
No, I'll be honest, nothing at the moment. Stephen's always had a high opinion of him the day he qualified her, and I had a couple of nice fillies, her and Better Start, and he couldn't really separate them either, and he always kept telling me time, so he probably is right. So no, we'll go home, so I'll have a quiet week or so, and then we'll probably be something around cup time or beforehand. I'm not sure, Greg, at all.
All right, Cranbourne, second up today in a lesser grade. Give the horse some confidence. Got a beautiful run.
Yeah, and I was probably, I won't say the words I was using down the back. I said to Stephen, get your ass, get going, because he's a better out-and-out type of going. But he's done the job, and it's good to follow speed for change and not be outside the leader. He only knows to win by half a head, and but he's doing it. And yeah, we'll just keep pressing on. Maybe a cup dream's there in the back of our mind, but we'll probably still need a lot more rating points to go up to get us.
What's next for him?
Well, maybe the Methven Cup, or we'll just take it. We'll just see how he pulls up tonight and tomorrow, and I'll just see. I'm not 100% sure there neither. I'm taking small steps this year and seeing what happens, Greg.
He will make his way to the Alabar, the Lazarus at Alabar Methven Cup on Sunday. More about that shortly. He moves up 28th to 23rd in the ranking. The other move is Kango, 24 to 17. So his handy effort it was in the Canterbury Classic. And Will He Go West, who won in Australia over the weekend, is another to move 34 to 28, although it's probably unlikely that he'll make his way here. It is the Spring Cup at Alexandra Park this week. Michael's already alluded to the fact that Copy That will make his way there. We're going to go back and have a look at a trial. Of course, we showed you last week his trial when he got knocked over by Bella Montana. That's him back in the field here, Michael. Nice performance. He didn't win the workout, but I think they'll be rather happy with the way he hit the line here.
Yeah, well, last week in his workout he got knocked over, so he needed a better run, and he's traditionally been a horse who, with 2 trials, is better rather than a 1 trial some horses can have heading into a race. They came him in 26 seconds there. That's Alta Wise Guy, who leads and wins, also comes out of the trial to win that trial, Bad to the Bone leading. So they were good runs in 26, and he's made ground in 26, so clearly he's gone 25 and change around Pukekohe. Barrier 7 suits him, Greg. I think out wide on the track, he won't have to stand too long over the 2,200 metres. If he steps away, clearly, very clearly, it's his race to lose, and anything but a victory would be disappointing. Maybe the horse who could annoy him would be Bad to the Bone. If he happened to step to the lead, he's quite a hard-running horse, and clearly by that video, he's very fit. Obviously, the winner of that trial, Alta Wise Guy, isn't in this race. He's in the last race on the card, which the Telfers actually have the entire field in. So anything but a win or a really good second, Greg's not going to be enough for him, but I think he will win because the 2 trial into race has been exactly what he's needed in the past, Greg. Then the question mark is, do they head south for the Ashburton Flying Stakes? And with the announcements from the government over the last couple of days, I think that's looking more tricky and less likely.
Yeah, just hearing through from Harness Racing New Zealand as well, over the next 24 hours, a finite decision will be made around Kaikoura, Michael, because, look, it's unlikely that it's financially viable to take the whole roadshow up to Kaikoura unless you can have a crowd, and judging by the information thus far, That's not going to change between now and when they would have to make that decision. The most likely scenario is at Addington, and they race solely on the Sunday. But gee, that could be a bumper day if it is there, because you have the age pace, you have the feature trot, which you'll have Sunday Sun, potentially Bolt for Brilliance, Muscle Mountain in, and of course a Shadow New Zealand Cup field. In fact, it would be the deepest Kaikoura Cup field probably since when Master Musician won it, if indeed it was to be run at Addington.
Yeah, look, I feel for our friends at Kaikoura. This is a massive couple of days for them, and they want this, and so does everybody in that region want this. But COVID's here, Greg, and we're working our way through it. So it's not the South Island, I know, which makes it even more frustrating for people. I fully understand. I don't think the trainers mind, Greg, to be honest. I think Kaikoura fits in nicely time-wise for them, and they like the experience of going to Kaikoura. But from a purely leading into the New Zealand Cup, Greg, Addington suits way better. So I think if they go to Addington, I think South Coast Arden's certain to head there. A lot of horses will head there, and some of these trotters, like a Bolt for Brilliance or a Sunday Sun, for example, I think they'll head there, and I think it will actually be a better form guide. I want it to go to Kaikoura, Greg. I don't think it'll go to Kaikoura. I feel for our friends from there, and hopefully this time next season it's not going to be an issue. Not giving up hope, Greg, but from a punting point of view, not a disaster having a massive mega Sunday at Addington.
Yeah, well, we will know this week. What about the trotting race there at Alexandra Park on Friday night? Temporale is, he's in wonderful form, isn't he? He's just been a remarkable trotter. He's won his last 3 on the bounce. This is him at the trials and going really nicely home in 27. He would only need to reproduce this, Michael, to be very, very competitive, I would have thought.
He's been vulnerable fresh up, Greg, and he's not totally fresh up because he did race sometimes over the winter. But he's been a horse who's been beatable fresh up, and I wouldn't be surprised in this field if he sits back. First run of the season, we've seen a lot of this in both codes. That's him running second, and he's always going to give you a show, but I think Invictus has got his chance this week. I can see him jumping to the front. I don't think the stablemate who's drawn off the front line is going to get in his way. I think he'll roll around to the front for Crystal Hackett, and he'll be awfully, awfully hard to beat because this is his type of racing. Just on the best trotters from the north, Bolt for Brilliance is the best of them, and he's not going to be going to Alexandra Park. He heads south. So Tony Hurley telling us this week on the radio that Bolt for Brilliance will head south. Jimmy Curtin will look after the horse, or Jimmy and Sandy, as Tony put it. And Jimmy will probably drive him on October the 15th. So he would head there, Greg, then to the Flying Mile at Ashburton. And Tony's one of the few big trainers I've spoken to with an open class trotter who said, I'm happy to go on both. I'll go on the free-for-all on the first day and the Dominion on the second day. Suits me fine. So you can back him, Greg, with confidence to be A, on the South Island early, and B, really fit and participating in the feature races during Cup Week.
Smallish field for the Lazarus at Alabar Methven Cup to be run at Geraldine. So a few venue changes coming up over the next month, Michael. Look, off the 10 metres will be Vintage Cheddar. The rest of them are off the front of those Kango. I'm really interested to see how he goes because he was very good last time, and Cranbourne will take his place. Then you've got the Dunn pair, Steal the Show, Some Kind of Wonderful, and of course Franco Niven. So it's a handy but small field.
Look, it's disappointing, obviously, that they can't hold it at Methven, like e.g. potentially Kaikoura is going to go through. Let's be honest, a lot of trainers don't want to go to Geraldine. It's too far for them. They don't entirely love the track surface for those genuinely good open class horses because Methven's so good, it can't be as good as Methven. And that's okay. Not everything, Methven's a purpose-built harness track, and Geraldine wasn't just built for this reason. I think Kango gets into the race really nicely off the front. I think he was okay last week, but so much here, Greg's going to depend on who can roll to the lead. If the Dunn team can roll to the lead and make it hard for the Kangos and the Cranbournes, very different type of race. I just think it's a little bit icky for Vintage Cheddar. I like what I've seen of him so far this season, but 10-metre handicap means if he wants to win, he's probably going to have to loop the field. So interesting race, Greg, but again, like so many of our races at the moment, the standing start's going to be crucial.
Let's go back to Addington last Friday night as well, Michael, and have a look at the favourite for the Dominion. Sunday Sun is his name. He's outside Chief of Staff and Midnight Dash here. This was a phenomenal performance, Michael. A lap out I didn't think he could win. Even here, Chief of Staff looked like he was going to hold off, but he was so brave. That was remarkable. His time, 3:15.2. Only second fastest, his second best time over the distance. The only other time he beat it, Michael, and there is the photo to confirm, was back in the ordeal of 2019. So he's going as well as he ever has.
We all love him, Greg. He's just a wonderful little brave horse, and he's clearly the best trotting stayer in the country. I'm not liking him getting a little bit runny and behind in some of his races. Now, I know he was off 30 metres, but he didn't make any improvement for the first 800 metres, and that could be a problem. Not against these horses, because he's about 10 lengths better than Chief of Staff, and it's okay. You put Bolt for Brilliance at the top end of that field, he doesn't beat him. You put Muscle Mount at the top end of that field, he doesn't beat him. Now, there'll be people watching going, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's what happened last autumn. Those two horses got in front of him in good races, and they can beat him. He's the best trotter in the country, best trotter in Australasia. No doubts about that. And he'll probably win the Dominion. But he can't keep mucking around early in his gate, because if he does that, Greg, these other horses won't, and they will beat him. So I'll be happy to bet against him in some races if he continues that. In saying that, the Duns have been on and off the button with him a little bit and haven't screwed him down yet. He may well turn up the same horses show day last year, Greg, and spank them, but the horses he beat last week are not the horses he's going to have to beat in the Dominion.
No, and one of those, Bolt for Brilliance, we're going to have a look at his most recent trial, and he just looked big and strong. That's him back in third position. Michael, Vatican Hill, massive metro in front of him. Have a look at the way he runs to the line here. Very quick last quarter, better than 28 seconds, and he doesn't look any worse, Michael, that's for sure.
No, look, I had a really good talk to Tony about him the other day, and he said he's come back bigger and stronger. Is there sort of a debate on whether who's second, third and fourth best trotters in the country? Him, Muscle Mountain, and of course Majestic Man, who I think's clearly going to improve on the other day. I just think he's got lots of different weapons. We saw he's a good miler. He's been to 2 duels and he's won both of those. I think he's going to be a better horse this season, by maybe a length or two. But then again, Sunday Sun might improve as well. So I just think the ability to run hard early for him and or a Muscle Mountain might put them in places to beat Sunday Sun at some stage. But of course, Greg, that's not a respective advantage over 3,200 metres on show day, which is the only race you can back them in now. So probably the only race we need to think about. But I just can't be taking $1.60 about Sunday Sun, Greg, because I realise what the TRB's doing. They don't want multis running through Sunday Sun and Franco Indy and Self-Assured this time last year. They don't want these horses being big liabilities for them early in the spring. But what would Sunday Sun need to do between now and show day to go around $1.60? Would have to be unbeaten for the rest of the spring. So you just don't back him, because you could put $100 on him in his next start and the next start, and then take the $1.60 on show day. So they're trying to turn off the tap there, but it's ludicrous. You simply can't take it.
Yep, $1.60 his price, $4.80 for Bolt for Brilliance, and $6 the price for Muscle Mountain if you want to get involved there. Just continuing our look back last Friday night at the Premier meeting out of Addington Raceway, I just wanted to highlight another couple of performances for you. The first of those, Allegra in race number 4. Now, she's been the big mover in the Sires Stakes, and yeah, she was quite outstanding, having to sit parked outside Life's a Beach. So let's go back and have a look at that video from Addington now. In the dun colours, excellent she was here, Michael. Clawed her way past Life's a Beach, who lines up at Addington on Thursday night, but she looks a filly with plenty of scope.
Yeah, she does, and because we know how good some of the horses around her here are, Greg, so you produce this performance in an okay field and people go, well, that's okay, but she was way, way better than that. Now, you've got a story to tell us about Harold Smith here, the horse going to the lead in the minor trot, Greg, because it sounds like those close to the horse have big raps on.
Well, Nathan Williamson, first steer on him, said to me as he walked off the track, this one gave me a nice feel, and he said, I haven't driven one like this for a wee while. This might be able to go through to free-for-all company. Think about that next time you're having a bet. Now, we're looking at the horse for the fence here. Sod's Law, Michael, driven by James Geddes, was for the fence, now one off. and then eases into the 3 wide line. I said to James when he came off the track after race number 1, and here he is getting to the middle of the track and winning the first, I said if Tony Hurley or Blair Orange drove that horse, they'd say, what a genius, what a brilliant drive. James Geddes, the Geddes family are outstanding horse people, and he could not have come up with a better steer than that. Not only was it a winning drive, Michael, but he had the weight of yours truly tipping him as his best bet of the week, and we know how that's slowed a few up over time.
Yeah, James in the sulky on this occasion was a real bonus for him, Greg. Having you alongside him, probably not so much. But look, on the bright side, you're 1 win up for the punting competition for the year. For someone like James, Greg, driving more often these days and having a horse regularly driving and heading to Cup Day, that's going to give him some confidence because he knows he can be patient there. And that's always the issue for drivers who aren't professional drivers. They're not patient enough because they're not sure what to do. But once you start producing a gem like that, and well done to you, James, that's the sort of drive that gives you the opportunity to come to Cup Day, Greg, and think, hey, I know how to do this. I did it a month ago. So let's hope he's at Cup Day, Greg, with you and me. And everybody else.
Well, that horse has won 8 races now and close to 90,000, so has done a fantastic job. Chance for us to take a short break here on Your Box Seat, brought to you by our stable sponsors. When we return, we'll have the big chat and we'll find out a little bit more about one of the rising stars amongst our junior drivers. Welcome back into Your Box Seat. Got an opportunity to catch up with Craig Wiggins, focusing on something that's important not only in racing but in life, your mental health, and get a little bit more of an insight into Mental Health Awareness Week amongst the racing fraternity. Craig, we've just completed Mental Health Awareness Week, something that your heart's really in.
Yeah, it is, Greg. I do a lot of it in agriculture fields in rural New Zealand. But we've all got mental health, just like we've got physical health, and I'm pretty happy that we're going to start looking at it in the racing industry as well. Yeah,
a joint initiative across all 3 codes. Great to see them getting together and supporting a wonderful cause.
Yeah, definitely, Greg. I mean, there is pressure in every code, and we all need to make sure that we're looking after ourselves. And the big thing is to look after each other. Ask the questions, don't be scared to ask them. And as you said, all 3 codes.
All right, got a website as well, whenracingwins.co.nz.
Yeah.
There's some great information for everyone on there.
Yeah, there is, and there's good support out there for the industry too. You know, if you get a hold of racetrack support or even come and see like some myself and that, we can make sure that we get you the help that you need. And a lot of times it is just actually having an ear and listening to people.
Yeah, well, this last week's been about education and awareness and just getting people talking.
Yeah, definitely. You know, even the thing that I started in agriculture, lean on a gate, talk to a mate, that's all you need to do. Take 5 minutes out of your day, talk to your mate, talk to yourself and have a good look around and appreciate what you're living for.
I know you guys were looking to have a function at Addington Raceway. That's had to be postponed, but there is a very good chance it'll be resurrected and it'll certainly be run.
Oh, we need to run it, Greg, so I'm going to commit to running it. Addington are right behind helping me do it. As soon as we can get some of these COVID restrictions out of the way, we'll get back into it.
All right, congratulations on what you have done in the last week, and I look forward to this becoming an annual event, which I know is something that you're looking forward to as well.
Yeah, definitely, mate. We want to do it up and down the country, so as many events as we can. Thanks, Greg.
Whenracingwins.nz. Michael, we know how big a part of life it is across the spectrum now, and I applaud the 3 racing codes getting together and having that week, and I know it's going to become an annual event.
Yeah, and good on them. It's a tough industry, racing, because even the best fail a lot more than they win. No one wins even half their drives or rides if they're a jockey. So I do think, Greg, that a lot of the angst that comes into this, and by no means am I a psychologist, but when people talk to me about their struggles in these ways, often it comes back to social media, Greg. And social media is a wonderful tool, and it's a tool I use every day for work to inform people. But it's as simple as this, Greg. And I'm not saying this is to solve all mental health issues, because it's not. But if you're on social media, if you're watching this and you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever you want to be on, and somebody abuses you, don't argue back with them. It's just nonsense. Just unfollow them. I reckon I've got 280 people blocked on my Twitter account, Greg. Not because I think they're bad people. I don't want to hear someone arguing with me on social media. Anybody watching this has the right to do that. No one has the right to argue with you online. No one has the right to abuse you. They couldn't do it in a pub. They'd get kicked out. So if you're watching this, your life isn't about social media. It's just a tiny part of your life. And if you don't like the way somebody's treating you on there, just block them, forget about them, and move on. If that helps you even 5% with your mental health, it's a start.
Good work, Michael. Good advice as well. I had a chance last Friday to catch up with a guy doing some great things on the track, as we do each and every week with Harness Racing New Zealand. Profile one of our junior people, persons, female or male. This time it's a male. His name is Korban Newman. Korban, congratulations on the recently completed season, over 20 winners. That must have been a goal that you were trying to get to.
Yeah, I was wrapped. Yeah, I was pretty lucky. I had some good horses to drive in that, and I set a goal out with Johnny at the start of the season, 20, and yeah, I was really wrapped to get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to 21, and you're up over 40 now. Tell us about your background. How did you get into harness racing? Because Newman, is it a name that's been associated with racing in the past?
Oh, not so much. My dad did train a couple of starters way back in the day, and he owns horses, and my uncle owns horses as well. But not really. I just sort of one day at school, work experience popped up one day a week, and I sort of started there, and I was hooked. I only really did it to get a day off school, to be fair, but.
But you started out with Brendan Hill?
Benny Hill, yeah. Started with Benny Hill, and he taught me a lot. And then I made my way to Paul Courts once I finished school full time, and then made my way back to Benny's, and then now at the Duns, yeah.
Tell me about how you ended up at Woodend Beach and what a great experience it is, not only working with, well, the country's leading stable as it has been for the last couple of seasons, but working on the beach. It must keep your life pretty fresh as well.
Yeah, it's great down the beach, and it's sort of what gets you out of bed in the morning, and such good horses to work with at the stable as well, which makes it even better, you know.
First win for you was Markham Eyre at the Waimate track, and you were back on the inside and got to the middle of the track and picked up another junior in Ben Hope. How big a thrill?
Yeah, I still remember the day. You never forget it. I was so wrapped. It took me about 70 goes, I think, but I got there and I was poled up. Yeah.
Well, it didn't take you 70 goes as a trainer. First starter, Moon's Way, bang, got the business done and beat the boss.
Yeah, no, that was good, and I probably owe him a bit of thanks. Him and Craig Edmonds, they sort of helped me along with him on the way. Like Craig and Johnny are pretty good with the trotters, as we all know. So, big thanks to them. They helped me in getting that. Yeah.
Goals for this season, what would you like to achieve, and are you going to train a few more in the future?
I sort of just did the training just because I could, and it's another horse for me to drive and whatnot, but my goals for driving, I don't know, probably 25, 30 maybe. We'll just have to see how we start off the season, I suppose, but no, I'll be wrapped with anything over 20 anyway.
Well, congratulations on the way things are going, and keep it up.
Thanks, Greg. Cheers.
Yeah, 21 wins last season, 41 in his career. He's flying, Michael, and like you talked about last week, when you see a driver down there and you think, what sort of chance, what hope, tick. That's what Korban Newman gets, particularly in those junior driver races.
Yeah, well, the Dun team's got a good thing going on, Greg. They drive their horses a lot at the front of the field, and that gives young drivers confidence because they're getting in the fight, not missing the fight every time. But also, like Robert and John are good talkers. They know how to communicate with people, and so does Korban there. And I think that's really important. If you want to impress people, you need to be able to talk to them. And that's one of the issues we do have in harness racing is so many people get a little bit shy. Korban's obviously learning from people who know that it's a business. And I like the way he's going about his business. And again, he would be somebody, if you see him in a race, Greg, he's not a negative. He's someone you go, okay, this kid can drive. There's no issues there. So good on him, because I'm sure, Greg, coming from a non-racing background, that's taken plenty of hard work.
Yeah, it certainly has, and he's improved immensely in the interview stakes as well. Just going back to the conversation last week with Darren Williams around COVID and the Cup Carnival, spoke to him today. He said, look, not a whole lot changed with the announcement yesterday. Yes, some of our rooms have greater capacity now, but it doesn't change the fact that on the 19th of October, it's D-Day for them in terms of infrastructure and marquees. So very fluid situation. It will continue to evolve between now and then, but we'll update you as often as we can here on the box seat. With Garrards, we need to head across the Tasman, Michael, because it is Victoria Cup week and Derby and Oaks as well. So let's go back and review. Well, the favourite was probably going to be a short price favourite for the Victoria Cup, and King of Swing. He went round at Menangle last Saturday night and did what King of Swing does at Menangle over a mile. He led and he was pretty dominant.
Yeah, and as he's going to be, Greg, these aren't strong fields he's racing against here. So that's him obviously in front after starting from the outside of the front line. But he was $1.10. So they're relatively moderate horses compared to his overall ability. Wasn't the fastest time ever, but they had rain on the night, so it was a little bit sticky. What's more sticky is his barrier draw for the Victoria Cup. That's at Bendigo this Saturday night. They can't race at Melton. David Moran takes the reins because Luke McCarthy can't head south from New South Wales. So look, David knows the horse. There's no issues there. But barrier 13 outside of the second line is an issue. Up against the marker pegs, Bealey hasn't been beaten for 2 years. He's been absolutely enormous. Now he's going to have to come sit parked. And when he's had to sit parked, Greg, in races over the last 2 years or work around the field, on one occasion he won coming from three back on the outside at Menangle. But Greg, basically, when he hasn't been able to lead, he hasn't been able to win. Not because he's not good enough, but because at this level, very few horses are able to sit parked these days, Greg. So he's in the race with a big chance. He's actually still the favourite, but I don't think he should be. The one thing I would say is, of the horses in the Victoria Cup, not many are good enough for you to think in your mind they're really going to beat King of Swing. So much is going to depend on the early tempo, Greg, because the 2680 metres will at least mean his class comes out to the fore. And he'll beat most of them home. Whether he can sit parked is probably going to be the question.
What about Amazing Dream from the handy barrier draw of 5?
Had a really good talk to Anthony Butt about her today. She was so good in the Kilmore Cup last start, which is about a week and a half ago, sitting 3 wide. Most of her major wins have come on the marker pegs too, obviously. The Blacks of Fake, the Rising Sun, the Auckland Cup. She showed a new string to that bow in open class. She's never been working in open class to win races. She did sit parked and won at Addington a while ago, but again, that was after AG's White Sox and Self Assured been hard. Ant said, I'm going on the top. I'm going to try. He thinks the 1 and the 2 come out of the gate. They sort themselves out. Over the longer trip, he thinks Amazing Dream will get the lead. There's not a lot of gate speed between him and the 1 and the 2 once they get involved. So he's going to have a crack at the top. If he gets parked out and they burn up, Greg, King of Swing comes right into play. If he just rolls to the front, as A-Butt tends to do when he's trying to get something in a big race, he tends to get what he wants. 2 race to lose, Greg. I can't take the shorts about her. I'm going to wait to see how this market percolates because one of those 2 is going to drift wildly the way Betfair is affecting the markets these days. If you think that's a fallacy, consider the fact that Amazing Dream got out to 60 for one of the Group 1s and over 100 for another of the Group 1s during the Queensland Carnival. At the moment, Greg, it's got nothing to do with what you or I or other people bet. It comes down to algorithms, Betfair, and the bookies chasing the prices down. And for some reason, oddly, when she's raced at the highest level, the algorithms don't seem to like Amazing Dream. Might change this week. A-Butt's strike rate being so good and Nathan Purden's being so good, they might be more inclined to like the horse this week. But good race. Can't see anything outside the big 2 winning, Greg. Triple Eight's also in there for some New Zealand connections. He's drawn 1 on the second line, so he'll need to fly at them late. Just spoke to Greg Sugars, by the way, too, about Triple Eight. New Zealand Cup, no. So he's in the top 20. He'll make the New Zealand Cup field. They said very unlikely we put him in just in case the Inter-Dominions were called off. They haven't been called off. So Triple Eight you would expect to not be coming to Addington means plenty of other horses go up a notch.
Kiwi interest in the Derby. Let's go back to the heats from last week. And, of course, Sugar Me went round in the 3rd heat. Michael, Blitzern, very nice effort here in a 57.2 mile rate.
Yeah, what happened there? This is American Dealer in front for Nathan Purden and Anthony Butt. And the top 2 just burnt up. It just got crazy early. And Blitzen just sat off them for the Donahues. Went over top of them. Really nice performance and a fast mile rate, 157.2. The fastest of the 3 mile rates for the night. But American Dealer was the run of the race. So don't take any stress out of him. He was really good. Here's Major Moth. Look, he's just going to come and lead and win as they tend to do, the Emma Stewart trained horses. He's a very good horse. There's no doubts about that. And he's gone the slowest mile rate here because he's scooted home by far the fastest last 400. Don't think he proved anything there in the saintly colours, but the bottom line was he was too good for them, so didn't do his chances any harm. Spoke to Anthony about him today. He said he's a serious horse for American Dealer to beat. So is this horse. Act Now, this is him winning the last of the heats. This is the Sugar Me heat. He came round 3 wide but had to sit parked after that, and he just dropped out, didn't seem entirely comfortable on the track. Act Me bolts in here. He was a 157.5 mile rate, so just off the same speed as they went in the earlier fastest heat. He's drawn barrier 3, has the gate speed. If he gets across American Dealer, who's drawn barrier 2, Greg, it might be his race to lose, but over the longer trip, Old American Dealer was excellent last week. He's still my top tip in the Victoria Derby, so American Dealer there. The Oaks is also on. Looks a 2-horse race between Beach Music, Ladies in Red, or Lady in Red. Probably more inclined on Lady in Red, maybe. Even though she's got the second line, I just think she has the outside class. But Joanna was also very good in the heats as well, Greg. Not many Kiwis in the Derbies and Oaks this year, but I do think they're going to be pretty deep races and leading into races like the Breeders' Crown, where Better Twist is going to be taking on these fillies in about 5 weeks' time.
Just on the Breeders' Crown, caught up with Crandell Getty today. I wouldn't say he's definitely not going to the Crown Krug, but it's sounding less likely, Michael. He trials next week, but I don't know if they'll be heading that way.
I can understand why. I was lucky enough, Greg, to own a horse who won a Breeders' Crown race a couple of years ago. And what does happen is you get a little bit less of the stake than you usually would. You get half the stake because the nominator or the breeder gets part of the stake, and then you get trainers and drivers' fees come out, which of course is totally fine. But what that means, if you're travelling from New Zealand, it's probably minimum a $15,000 trip by the time you go backwards and forwards with the horse. And then Cran can't go with the horse, so it goes to Nathan. They're not bad horses. If it's worth 120, you sort of come home with 45, and it's cost you 15. And if you don't win, you lose on the trip. So if he's a horse, when we sent our horse over there to win, it was a big deal to me because I've always wanted to win a Breeders' Crown. But Krug's already won a bunch of big races. So I can fully understand how they may not want to go with so many moving parts on the open class board at the moment, Greg, where they can go to the junior free-for-all, they can go to the free-for-all, they can go to a whole bunch of races, including a Chariots of Fire. So I can understand what they're thinking. And if they're thinking about not going, Greg, that usually turns into
They're not going. Yeah, let's have a look at a couple of other features from last week leading into this week at Bendigo. Here's Bulletproof Boy taking out the Smokin' Up. Tango Tara in the Blue Shadow role there I thought was excellent, Michael. Cracking finish to this, and then we'll get to Majestioso as well. But tell me a little bit more about Bulletproof Boy.
Yeah, he's a good horse for Scott Ewan, and Scott's doing a super job with him. But the free-for-alls, and this is a glorified free-for-all because most of the big guns for the Victoria Cup in Victoria are weak. And the reason they're weak is Lochinvar, Rat and Ride High are injured, so they're not there. Now, those horses are great horses, but you take 2 horses out of Victoria and you're not left with many great horses, and lots of the other horses are waiting this week for the Victoria Cup. So he's not heading there. Most of those aren't. Tango Tara is doing a good job over there, and he'll win a nice race somewhere. Like, he'll win a good race somewhere. So will this fella. There's little Majestioso, good New Zealand bred horse, another one for Andy Gath. Always been a fast family, this. Excellent winning performance here. Does he beat the New Zealand trotters? Probably not, but most of our good ones aren't going to go, maybe not until at least after Christmas. So he's going to be a chance into Dominion, even though 3,000 metres around Menangle might see him out. Wonderful little horse, high speed, but again, Greg, I'm not raining on anybody's parade here, but there's just no depth to those races. And that's been Victorian trotting for years now. They tend to have one really good horse, like a Sundance Way or a Keystone Dowell or obviously Tornado Valley, and they don't have a great depth of their racing around those horses. And for that reason, when they come up against the New Zealand horses, they're usually vulnerable because they're not used to racing 3 or 4 good horses at the same time and going the sort of speeds we go. But they will have home track advantage for the Great Southern Star, and of course the concerns for the Kiwis getting there. So Majestioso may be the new flag bearer from Tornado Valley, his stablemate.
Yeah, and of course all 3 you just mentioned then are Kiwi breds to boot, and it is the Bill Collins Trotters Mile this week. Pink Galahs, Maori Laws in there as well as McLovin. All right, we're going to take a short break here on your box seat. When we come back, we'll salute one of the legends of our sport and wrap it up with a few winners for you.
Dennis, looking back through the history books, and the name 9 comes up several times around the New Zealand Cup. We're going to talk about Lordship and Rob Allen. Tell us about what type of horse Lordship was. Of course, his first cup that he won, one of two, in 1962.
In 62, he was actually a 4-year-old, which there only been one other 4-year-old had actually won a cup. He was very powerful, highly speed horse. He was only 14.2 and had exceptional speed, and he'd raced against open horse class horses before that. He'd actually won a free-for-all as a 3-year-old, and he was extreme speed as well as a great stayer. When he was a 2-year-old, every time he worked, he would run a quarter in 27, and that wasn't preparing for a race. And if he has to go slow, he would be going quarters in 28 under a hold. He did have exceptional ability.
After that cup win in 62, 4-year break before he won his second cup in 66, on a day that was pretty inclement weather-wise.
Well, it was. He had been trouble with needle splints, and when it came to 66, he'd won a lot of races. The needle splint started from when he was 4-year-old at that cup meeting, and he was 42 behind, and he won pretty well. He won pretty easily, actually. He made a move with a round to go and led them for the last 6 furlongs, and it was an extremely good run.
Of course, a lot of family history behind this horse with by Johnny Globe, bred by your parents.
Yes, Johnny Globe was an outstanding horse, and not only that, but I don't think most people realise what an outstanding bred horse he was. He was basically out of a mare that was out of Sir John Mackenzie's imported American mare, and it was, and both horses were great sires, and it was nice that Johnny Globe left such a lot of good horses. Well, not only Lordship, but he left such other great horses as well.
Round the bend they come, a furlong left to go, and Mr. Chips is the leader. And this Mr. Chips followed by Pancho Boy, his Lordship right out after middle of the track, and Robin Dundee is further out again. Robin to the inside of Lordship, but Lordship is gone into the lead. And Lordship, I think, will win the Royal Easter Cup and toast home at the head of the field. Lordship by 2 lengths from Robin Dundee, followed by Bobinette and Mr. Chips.
On to 1974, and the free-legged pacer Rob Allen, still the only free-legged pacer to have won the New Zealand Cup. What type of horse was he?
Well, he was very fiery, very highly strung, and Denise did most of the work with him. She always looked after him, which was a big asset, him being so fiery, and he was a wonderful horse. He won over distances when he was really a sheer speed horse. He'd won 42 races actually in this country, and into the Dominion Heat in Sydney, and he'd won 3 New Zealand free-for-alls, and he was like Lordship. He had tremendous speed. Probably in his era, he was possibly the speediest horse there. He won the Stars Travel Mile, and he just got up and beat Young Quinn, and he drew the outside of the gate, and only went the first half very slow, which made it very difficult, and he still beat a champion like Young Quinn.
Of course, that was his 4th attempt in the race. He was part owned and trained by yourself.
Yes, he was. Yes, Peter Hogan, I bought out Bob Pollock before he was an open class horse, and that's how the partnership, Alan Devery retained his half share, and that's how the partnership evolved.
And of course, your 3rd winning drive in the race, that must have given you a huge thrill.
Oh, well, it does. You've got to be extremely lucky to fluke driving great horses, and it is a lot of luck. I don't care what anyone says.
Noble Lord has given it away. Young Quinn's under a lot of pressure now to make his move, and Rob Allen's following Young Quinn. He pulls out to go on the outside. Further back to Waybill, and Speedy gets the turn for home. 200 100 metres to go, and Qatari Legend from High Foil. Rob Allen, you can give young Quinn away. He's got absolutely no response at all. And it's Qatari Legend and Rob Allen. Young Quinn is fighting on very bravely, but it's Rob Allen to win the 1974 New Zealand Trotting Cup. What a fantastic performance.
So a master horseman there in Dennis 9. Michael, he had 270 odd wins, I think it was, as a trainer, 470 odd as a driver, an outstanding horseman, and as you saw there, his attention to detail around the New Zealand Cup, a race he loved to participate in, and he got to win it 3 times as a driver.
And that's the difference, Greg. He had 270 wins, which is an enormous amount of wins, but his impact on the industry was not that of a 270 win trainer. He had the impact of a 1,000-win trainer because he trained a couple of horses who were great horses and horses that we'll all remember. So it's sad to hear of Dennis's recent passing. Our condolences to his family, but that name will be around for as long as there's harness racing in this country.
Yep, not wrong there, Michael. Kate Calder, regardless of where it is and if we can have people on track, the competition still stands. Last week we asked who won last year's Alabar Kai Calder Cup. It, of course, was the defending champion in that race, Classy Brigade, now a 2-time winner, and he might get a chance again to win it this year. The question this week, the South Bay Trotters Cup has generally been a terrific guide towards New Zealand Cup week. I Can Do's It was successful in the race. How many times? Tell us how many times did I Can Do's It win the South Bay Trotters Cup. boxseatnz@gmail.com. By Monday, 1 entry per person. We'll draw a winner from each week, tell you who those people are, and do the draw live, if you like, as part of our box seat leading into the Kai Calder meeting. So we'll confirm by then where that'll be, and if it's not this year, then they'll transfer it and you'll be able to go next year, which seems a long way away. Addington Raceway this week, Thursday night, Michael, excellent program there. They kick off at 8 minutes past 5, but horses like Pace and Pride, Shan Noble return, Want to Play With Me's in a $20,000 trot. There's some really nice horses there on Thursday night.
Also, I'm looking forward to seeing the most, Greg, is Franco Indy, because he was so good last time, and then Franco Mac got beaten last week, and they're going head-to-head this week. A lot of sorting out for that Sires Stakes market's going to happen this week. Franco Indy spanks him. He'll get in shorter, and obviously the Northerners are going to join the fray at some stage. But Franco Mac turns the corner, and I'm willing to forgive him for last week, Franco Mac. I just don't think he was in a race he could end up winning after he got too far back, even though we all thought he'd win beforehand. So, interesting race. It's a pivotal race for that Sire Stakes, Greg, because a Purdon Cullen horse is going to start favourite in that race. Just a matter which one.
Yep, it certainly is. Alexandra Park on Friday night, 10 races there, 5:56. Northern Southland race on Saturday. They have 10, 141, and Methven at Geraldine, their big meeting, 12:35. Best bet of the week, Michael, for you with Rakiro Racing. BD Yassithan was scratched last week, so you haven't not backed a winner thus far. Unbeaten so far. What do you got this week?
Stephen and Amanda Telfer won the last race at Alexandra Park because they had 7 in the race.
Yes.
I think it'll be Ultra Wise Guy. Gee, he was good at the workouts the other day. He's slippery, he's fast. He'll go forward and he'll probably get the lead. Now, BD Joe may go forward with him too, and he was really good at the workouts as well. But I still think Ultra Wise Guy is more likely to go forward, and he could also potentially come off the other horse's back. So I'm willing to back him this week in what's effectively a 2-horse race with 7 from their stable, and good on them for Stonewall Stud. These are the sort of things you need. People putting people into horses, Greg, supporting our racing, making these races happen, good for turnover, and some pretty good horses. For me, Ultra Wise Guy and the last at AP.
Romeo Shard for me in race number 9 is now the favourite for the Kennard Futurity, around $2.70 too. Spoke to Brent Mango, said he's a pretty nice maiden, this horse, so I think he will take all sorts of beating. That's been your box seat, Michael. We will see everyone in 7 days' time.
Well, Greg, before we go, just don't forget, Ben Hope, young Ben Hope last week was silly enough to take on the Master in the NRL final. He went to the South against Penrith. None of us know anything about league. But Ben next week, Greg, will read a statement alluding to the fact that he doesn't know anything about league of my choice. So Ben will be a special guest next week on The Boxing.